Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Dynes Sports YouTube page and podcast network. We're up to episode 11 now, and today we sit down with CPGA professional golfer Terry Cowan. Terry also happens to be my cousin, so we definitely called in some family favors to get this episode up and running. But we sit down and do a quick deep dive, not only on how he got started in the golf industry, but what it actually looks like day in, day out at a course. There's a lot more that goes into running a world-class facility than just showing up and turning on some lights. And he walks us through that, as well as some tips and tricks to hopefully shave a couple strokes off your game this summer. But we also unpack a lot on the mental side of golf as well, too, because Lord knows anyone who's ever had a round out there start to fall off the rails, it's definitely what's going on between 6 inches between your ears. That can affect your outcome there. So it's a great episode. Just a friendly reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe below so that we can continue to bring you this content week in, week out. Got some great guests coming up later this week as well, too. But we think you guys will really enjoy what Terry has to say. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Dynes Sports YouTube page and podcast network. Joining me today, Terry Cowan. Terry, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, not bad. How's the life out at Eagle Creek Golf Course? Are people just absolutely flooding it for you, or what?
Absolutely, yeah. It's everyone's been itching to play, and a little backup to the season's been good. So, yeah, the course is super busy right now. Everyone's really excited to get going, and it's been good for all of us. Yeah.
Nice. And I have to imagine that the bit of a slower start to the year, the course has got to be in great condition right now, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we had a little bit of issues with dry spots at the start of the year with not really getting any rain at the end of April and start of May. So it was a little bit of a rough go the first week, but the rain we've had and the heat we've had the last week has been it's been really beneficial, and the course is looking awesome.
Right on. So how many times have you gotten out yourself already this year then?
I think I played 6 rounds now.
6? Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah,
actually catching up on you there. I've been out twice myself, so I'm not
that's
too
good.
far behind. I don't think our scores would be anywhere near the same, but at least a number of times I've hit the greens. So,
Yeah.
let's talk golf a little bit here and sort of what your journey was. You know, like at what age did you start playing, and what sort of got you involved in golf to begin with?
Well, I kind of started later than most, I guess, that are avid golfers, I guess. I probably really started playing when I was like 14 or 15. But our grandfather got me into it, really. And then after that, I just played with him once a week or once every couple of weeks. I didn't have a ton of interest. But I had a buddy that was in high school that was really into it. And I had an opportunity that ended up being a weird one where our high school golf team didn't have enough people on it. And he kind of dragged me out to try out because they needed people, and I had to hit a ball previously. And there was no cut, so I made the team. And after the first tournament I played, I was kind of hooked. And then I picked it up really hardcore after that. And yeah, I ended up turning it into a career.
Wow. So you went from literally being just a warm body, so they had enough people to field the team, to this is your 7-day a week job now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wild. So you kind of touched on it. You were a bit of a late sort of bloomer, I guess you could say, to the sport there. You know, at what point, I guess, in your journey in golf did you start thinking to yourself, you know what, this is more than a sport to me. I want to sort of make a career of this.
Yeah, you know what? It was kind of weird. So I went to school for physical and health education at Nipissing University, and I was working in a pro shop. I worked actually back shop. I worked on the turf crew and a bunch of different jobs at the Canadian Golf and Country Club through university, basically so I could play free golf. And then I finished school and I kind of didn't know what to do. And my boss at the time said, "It's basically, hey man, you got enough game to turn pro. Why don't you turn pro and we'll figure it out, and you can kind of figure out what you want to do with your career after that." And I just kind of said, well, why not, and did it. And after I started playing tournament golf, I kind of got addicted to it. So now I'm in it. I love the business and I love being around golf and I love working golf, but I also love playing tournament golf, which is a big part of why I'm still in the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have a favorite format? Are you a match play guy? Do you like just stroke play? Like what's your bread and butter?
Yeah, I like match play. I'm a little streaky, so I can get it going real low, but I can get it going real sideways too. So, um, one day pro events, I can put up a number every once in a while, but I can, 2-day events sometimes haven't gone the best for me. I'll have a good day one and a bad day two or whatever. But I like match play too, though. It's I make a lot of birdies, so I like match play. Kind of lets you get away with the mistakes a little more often, which is what I'm prone to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right on. So, I mean, for those that have never, played golf seriously, or may just be, the weekend warrior style there, walk us through what is the process even of going pro? What sort of hoops do you need to jump through, and scores do you need to post, and whatnot in order to qualify for that level?
So turning professional now is it's sort of a different process than it used to be. Even it's changed a lot since I turned pro in 2016. But basically, you just sign up through the PGA of Canada. So there's 8 zones across the country. So we have our own zone here in Ottawa. So you sign up within your zone. You pay an entry fee. I think it's $400 now to turn pro. And the score, it's a course rating, basically plus a certain amount of shots. So I think now it's roughly 78 or the equivalent over 2 days. So you can get in under that number in whatever way. It's sort of after that, actually, that's the interesting part. So you, as a golf professional, once you turn pro and play in, you're an apprentice professional. So then you go through 6 years of schooling to become a Class A professional, which classifies you as a head professional.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you gotta first you gotta post the scores, then you gotta do sort of the apprenticeship, and then from there, so you would be. You said you turned pro in 2016. So what is it? 2022 is sort of the goal here now to get your Class A then, or?
Yeah. I've fast tracked it actually with COVID. I've had a lot more time on my hands, so I've kind of been plowing through more of my education faster than need be.
Yeah.
Um, there's kind of a deadline of 6 years. The only thing that's tough is you have to pay per course that you take, and there's a lot of credits, so it does add up and financially, I guess, to get to your Class A.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So on a typical day here, when you're going out, then what are your scores that you're posting on an average day?
These days, it's a little bit higher. The game hasn't been so good this year, but when I'm playing well, I'll shoot anywhere between even par, 2, 3 over. Where my game still struggles, and especially in tournament play, when it starts to spiral, I really can struggle. And I shoot in the low 80s like very regularly in tournament golf, especially. When you're just out with your buddies or out with members, it's a lot easier to kind of, I'll turn that 80 in a tournament into a 77 in a round out with the buddies. Yeah, but when I'm playing well, I can get it going pretty good too. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you hit on something right there too, which I'm the classic case of, just like you say. Great, I just parred 3 holes in a row. I know that probably coming up, I've got a triple, a double, a couple lost balls in my future there. So when you are in, whether it's a tournament or even just going out there with your friends and whatnot, do you have any tips or tricks to sort of refocus after a bad hole, or how do you get back on the track after you've maybe plunked a couple in the water in a row?
Yeah, I just try and take it one shot at a time. It's like a very old cliche, right? But um, I also try not to get too angry anymore. I like struggle with that a little when I was younger, and um, it's the more that you can relax in those situations is the better, right? And I've gotten a lot better just allowing things to blow off a lot easier. And it's again hard to do, but if you can just quickly refocus. And then a big thing is like when I'm in between shots, like walking to my next shot, I try and completely leave the thought of golf alone for a little while, right? I just go to another place. Again, hard to do, but I see people I play with all the time, right? We're walking down the fairway and they're like, I only need to par 18 to shoot 78. And I'm like, yeah, he's not making par on the next hole because he's already thinking about, he hasn't even hit a second shot into 17 and he's already thinking about what's going to happen on 18.
Yeah.
So you got to stay in the moment. And that's, again, it can be hard to do, but that's the biggest focus if you can have it. When I do play well, I get in my own way. And that's kind of the space that I go to. So.
And was there ever, a number that you were stuck at for a long period of time of just, oh my God, I can never get below whatever 75, and a point in time where it was becoming increasingly harder to shave strokes off your game?
Yeah, breaking par for the first time is like the hardest thing going, right? And I got a student right now that I work with, and he's probably a one handicap, and he just broke par about 2 weeks ago for the first time. And I played with him probably 7 or 8 times in Florida, actually in a pro-am, and then also at the end of last year where he had it locked up. And he just mentally got into that block, right, where he was starting to think, all I have to do is, and you lose it, right? And I did that my first, I probably, again, Canadian Golf Club, coming down the 18th hole, I probably had 6 chances the year before I turned pro to break par, anywhere from 1 under to 3 under, and I never cracked par in that year. Just choking, right? It's like you end up, I'd always hit 3-wood off that tee, and I was 3 under one day, and I'm like, I'm going to hit a 4-iron and a pitching wedge and chip on and just try and make par, bogey, and I'm still going to shoot under par. And then I block it in the woods, right? Because you're doing something out of the ordinary. You got to stick to the game plan you had and the routine you had. And again, it's easier said than done, but that's kind of the gap. And then when you what I've learned over the years is you learn to not play defensive. You continue to push forward, right? I've been at 3 under par, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to 5 instead of going, I'm going to try and hang on and finish at 3, right?
Yeah. And so, when you're talking about scores like that, which, I'm just happy if I get under 90, that's a good day for me there. But, when you're talking about scores that low, would you say it's more mental or actual just physical swing mechanics of shaving that last stroke or two off your game there?
Definitely mental. All good players have a good swing, and they got different ways to get it done. But it's mental approach, and decision making is probably the biggest one. Again, with this same student, he's taken on pins coming down the last few holes that he has no business doing, right? He's trying to hang on to a score, and he's flying it at a tucked pin over a bunker with nothing behind it. So there's no benefit, right? You just play it to the middle of the green. It's decision making is huge, and you kind of learn that as you get better, right? And I've learned that through the years playing with really good players. They just don't make the dumb mistakes, right? They're not gonna attack things that are short-sighted, and they also just learn how to take their medicine, right? You hit it in a bad place, don't do anything stupid to compound an error. That's what good players don't do. They don't really compound errors with errors, and that's what I do it all the time. You go, I got that shot. Is it the smart shot? No. Can you pull it off? Maybe. The risk reward, not really there, but it's again, you learn that as you want to get better.
Yeah. And that's how my holes always end up blowing up, right? I fire one into the water off the tee, and then it's, okay, well, I better go for the green for the next one there, and then now I'm off into the woods, and all of a sudden that's how I've got a snowman on my scorecard there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now that you do have, you've qualified to be in the professional ranks there, we're working at Eagle Creek there. Walk us through what is a typical, I mean, obviously everything's a little atypical right now, but COVID aside, what would a typical day at the golf course sort of look like for you?
So my primary role is I run all the events and leagues. So I facilitate the ladies league, the men's league. I run all the events. So right now we're kind of full bore on with our events starting up. All the match plays are getting going this weekend. So I've been pulling 10-hour days trying to get those boards ready. Our leagues just started last week, so we're starting to get into all those periods going. We do a little bit of everything in terms of, I'll jump in and work in the back shop or get out in the range picker and pick balls. That's kind of the thing in the golf business. You kind of have to be versatile and be able to do everything. But generally, no, I'm lucky. At least I consider myself lucky. I don't do inventory or anything like that. That's a job I've done and I dread. And pro shop management's a big job in the golf business. That's one luckily I don't have to deal with. But I love doing the events and I love running the leagues, and you get to be hands-on with the membership. That's again another lucky thing I consider being at a semi-private club or a private club. You get to work with a membership base, so we're very close with our members and the players in our leagues. So yeah, that's lucky. But other than that, I do the typical stuff. I run all the schedules and kind of oversee processes in the pro shop.
Pitching
Pace
in
of play
wherever
for
you
golf
need to be
course.
then, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what, you spoke about some of the changes here. What have been some of the biggest changes that you guys have had to implement because of COVID and social distancing and all of that there?
Yeah, well, we're kind of lucky because golf is relatively a social distancing sport for the most part, right?
Yeah.
For us, like on the golf course is our main focus. So we have all the things in place. The pins you can't take out, so we've got these little lifters that you help pull the ball out of the hole. We don't have anything on course anymore. Ball washers, rakes, water coolers, water fountains, all those are gone. People are pretty good generally about keeping apart. Obviously, it's one rider per cart too. The thing that's really different is the clubhouse is essentially closed. So the pro shop's open, but it's only open for basically sale of golf balls, gloves, hats, sunscreen for our members. But the restaurant's closed, the locker rooms are closed. Again, those are things that I find in a private club kind of make your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our members are kind of missing that. And, other services too, like club cleaning, shoe washing, we take pride in getting those services done. And again, we can't offer that, right? So it's a little bit different than a normal year, but we're making do. And again, the members are just happy to be out playing. So that's kind of the biggest thing for them.
Yeah, everyone's just so happy to be out of the house for a change there
Exactly.
that some of the nice to haves are not front of mind for them, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think any of those changes, that have been implemented out of necessity might actually stay on longer? For example, they just changed the rules for golf where you can actually putt with the pin in now. Like, do you think, having those little pin lifters and all that, you guys might actually be keeping them moving forward, or?
Yeah, I don't know about the pin lifters. There's been good feedback. Like, it is convenient that you don't have to bend down and pick the ball out of the hole or touch the flag. The one issue they have is it is an extension of the pin, right? Like the pin is supposed to be dead center, and the theory behind the ball hitting the pin and going in is it is in the center, right? I've personally experienced already that if you don't move that little lifter directly behind the pin, it can actually hit this little side pin and stop the ball from going in. Not really a big deal on your casual round, but we are already considering it. We have a competitive event this weekend. It's a qualifier for our inter-club teams. And we're saying the ball has to go in the hole, right? So, if you don't take the time to properly move that, or someone in your group doesn't move it for you, that could be a costly one, right? Yeah. Something that has been beneficial, though, is we went to a 12-minute tee time increments for COVID just to space people out. And that has actually been phenomenal for our pace of play. Eagle Creek's it is a very tough golf course, and inexperienced golfers really do suffer there. There's basically lost ball written on every hole. So the 12-minute increments has been huge. We've been pushing 4 hours maximum, basically, has been our pace of play. Whereas before we were struggling to keep it under 420, right? Because one group kind of ruins the whole day, unfortunately. Yeah. But the spacing kind of helps it. So that might be something we look at, keeping a little bit of a wider gap in our tee times going forward.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you've had the opportunity to golf with hundreds of different people, thousands probably over the course of your career now here. So you've probably seen swing types, great swing types that are absolutely horrible, right? Is there one trick or one thing that you see just come up time after time after time, that's a simple fix that the typical, weekend warrior could do and implement in their game to fix something really quickly?
The biggest thing, I don't know, like you have your general fundamentals that I always try and check in at when I'm teaching, but I think the biggest thing I see that causes people problems is tempo. They're erratic in their transition, and they just have no control over their speed, and everything's kind of moving in different directions at different times, right? So that'd be the biggest thing I'd start with generally. It's something I work with generally with kids right off the bat, because if you can kind of learn that rhythm, it's an easier fix going forward, right? Yeah. I always kind of go with, as a basic, the fix is PGA. It's posture, grip, and alignment. Those are kind of 3 big fundamentals. If you can correct those right off the bat, it usually does people a lot of good. But right after that, I'd say it's just, proper tempo.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And so, when you're looking at your own game, is there one area that you, when you're, getting ready for a tournament or something like that coming up there, that you put extra focus on? Is it your short game? Is it your approach shots? What area do you focus the most on?
Definitely short game. Um, you can salvage a round with short game. It's hard to when you're striking the ball well and your short game sharp, you're going to shoot really good numbers, right? But if you don't have a short game going, it's no matter how good your ball striking is, it's really hard to put a number together. So
Yeah.
I really try and dial in my short putting before tournaments, and especially I try and kind of play little games with myself to get myself into a mindset, because you're grinding over 3-4 footers all day, right? Those are ones you pick up when you're playing with your buddies. But when you got to make it under pressure, that's when it kind of matters. So I try and go around the circle, or try and create little games, and I try and put pressure on myself to make those putts and kind of change your mindset, right, and get your focus dialed in for
Yeah. Yeah. So for those that are listening right now that maybe want one of those short game tips, is there an easy putting tip that you can give to people?
Yeah, like center strike is the biggest thing in putting for me, I think. So a good little drill I use is basically, if you set your putter up, I try and put a tee just on the outside of each side, and it's like a gate drill essentially, right? I'm trying to roll my putter through there. And then if you want to make it harder, you can kind of create a gate that's just wider than the ball going forward. And you just hit 3 footers, 4 footers through this, and try and roll a ball through a gate that's tightly narrowed going through. You'll find any imperfection in the strike of the ball pretty quickly. So I just try and really, like, the biggest thing for me is trying to narrow the focus down, right?
Yeah.
If your target's too wide, and that's another thing I always say to people, like, people go, the fairway's so wide, how did I miss it? Well, it's also, you're looking at a huge target, right? If you pick a smaller target within the fairway, you're narrowing your focus down, and then your miss becomes this big instead of looking at it the other way, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So looking ahead to the future here, is there anything in particular that you're really excited about, or sort of a milestone or goal that you're working towards in your own sort of golf career here?
Yeah, I set a goal when I turned professional to get a win, and I got one last year, so that was really big. It was in a 2-man event though, so the next goal is to kind of cross that bucket list goal off of getting the win by myself. This is going to be a bit of a tough year because most of our events have been canceled, so I'm now starting to look to outside tours basically. So I'll probably be heading up to Quebec a bit this year, maybe down into the States even a little bit, see what I can get myself into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a weird year, but I'm going to try and find places to play, and yeah, just getting a win is kind of always the goal.
Got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. So for those that are listening that, they've maybe dabbled with it, or they're sort of wrestling with the idea of, okay, well, should I maybe sort of make a run at, going pro, or getting involved in sort of the golf industry there? Do you have any advice for someone who's just sort of starting out as to, what it takes, or how to network themselves into a position within the industry?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing is to really decide whether you want to be a golf professional or a professional golfer, right?
Yeah.
Really, that's a big difference. Like, I work at a golf course. I'm a professional, and I play professionally on the side, I guess you could say. But a professional golfer is a player, right? They're just playing tournaments. And I've talked to people that are considering joining the PGA of Canada to play professionally, and I'm like, that's not the route, right? You pay a lot of money in education and dues a year to be insured to teach and work in the business, and that's not really the direction you want to go, right? But if you want to be a golf professional, I'd say going the route of just get yourself into a course. The amount I learned, the turf experience I had has done me so much good, because the questions I get about the golf course every day are huge, right? And even my boss can't answer those questions because he hasn't worked out there. You work in the back shop, you kind of learn all the sides of the business, work your way into the pro shop. That'd be the way I'd approach getting into the golf business, if that's what you're interested in. And then, if you want to go the route of teaching, there's so many good teachers in the PGA of Canada and the PGA of Ottawa too. My 2 mentors are both here, and I've learned a ridiculous amount just being members at their golf school. I always get laughed at. I'm like the only pro golfer or golf professional in my coach's school. but I learned so much that I've applied to my own teaching. I get a lot out of my time there and my practice there, but I've also what I get out of their instruction to others that I just kind of listen to is huge. And it's kind of, I'm interested in pursuing more of a teaching job going forward as opposed to maybe the operations side.
Right on, right on. So, obviously you don't have a crystal ball here, but, looking forward into the future here, do you see any sort of, trends or changes to golf just in general sort of coming down the pipeline? I think especially with some of these new sort of celebrity matches there where you've got Manning and Brady and, the match with Phil and Tiger and all of that there, it's sort of renewed sort of an interest in that casual golfer there. Do you see any trends coming in the future?
Yeah, I don't know about the trends in the future, but I think it is important just to make golf fun, right? It's people watch the tour golf and it's super serious and there's not a whole lot of interaction with the fans. Some guys are better than others, but that stuff's fun to watch because you also see guys hitting bad shots, right? And it's kind of like, oh yeah, there are like people like me out there, and it's kind of
Tom Brady splitting his pants there, picking up the ball.
exactly. So I think that's really entertaining, and I'd like to see them build on that going forward. But yeah, I don't know trends. I don't know. It'll be curious to see. I don't really know on that one. That's a good question.
Yeah, yeah. What about getting sort of the next generation involved, right? Because, as you say, not only are the courses that you have to take expensive to become, a professional golfer, but just getting on a course can also be expensive as well, too, right? Is there anything that golf sort of just in general needs to do a better job of in order to get younger, like you said, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds out there onto the course? And sort of getting that next generation into the sport there.
Yeah, I think a big thing would be the promotion of 9 holes going forward. The big thing I see with kids is like they just don't have the attention span to play a 5-hour round of golf or 18 holes. Mm-hmm. You'd have a better bet going with 9 holes or just a couple hours and keeping their attention span. But yeah, going the direction of just having fun, right? That's the biggest thing when I'm doing instruction for kids. It's not really a big focus on technical stuff or anything like that. It's just about getting out, hitting the ball, and having fun and making it enjoyable. And then, as I said, big thing is pace of play, and that's something we're super proud of at Eagle Creek. We have a bunch of junior members, and they are like pushing the pace on all of our adult members, which is awesome. Like they're the ones sitting waiting on tee boxes when you think that they are going to be the ones being waited on. And they know to play quickly, and I think that's really important for the future of the game because everyone's always just too caught up with everything to spare the 5 hours or whatever it takes to go play golf, right? Mm-hmm. You think golf courses aren't located in the middle of the city, so you got a half an hour drive on either end, and you have a drink or food after your round. It's a 6, 7 hour, 8 hour day even. So just figuring out a way to make it quick and enjoyable is the big thing for juniors.
Right on, right on. All right. Well, where can people find you or get more information about either, Eagle Creek or sort of your journey as a professional in golf there?
Yeah, if you're looking for Eagle Creek, clublink.ca or just go to Eagle Creek Golf Club online. You can find my information there too. If you're ever looking for a lesson, we do take public lessons. So you can send me an email there and book a lesson. You can follow my social media too. I'm not that active on social media, so my postings aren't that great. But just there's lots of good stuff out there, and I'd recommend trying to find an instructor. It really does help, and it makes the game more enjoyable.
Oh yeah, it's a lot more enjoyable when you're posting a good score than here comes 120 for the round.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thanks very much, Terry. We really appreciate you joining us today. And best of luck with whatever this upcoming season sort of looks like for you on the course.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I hope everything gets going for you guys and everything's good this summer.
Right on. Take care. And that's a wrap for another episode of the Dynes Sports YouTube page and podcast network. Thanks very much for tuning in today, guys. Huge thank you also goes out to Terry for sitting down and sharing his journey through golf, as well as some tips and tricks that can hopefully shave a stroke or two off of your game this summer. Make sure that you guys like, comment, share, subscribe. We've also got various social media platforms that we'd love to connect with you guys as well, too, so make sure to check those out. We've got some great guests coming up later this week. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys next episode.